Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. So today I'm joined by NETX5 and Patrick, and we're going to be talking about the unreleased 1994 Fantastic Four film. This film is filled with a lot of actors that didn't really go anywhere after this sort of film, unfortunately. But we can sort of see why. So this film really looks at the rise of the Fantastic Four. It was one of the first films they sort of did for this sort of comic book superheroes, and it was unreleased. It was started shooting in 1992 and then was meant to come out in 94 and it didn't, and it's sort of been sort of a film that people have been after, sort of a lot of bootleg copies out there, and there is talk that the producers actually took all the negatives they had and burnt them and only kept like one set of them, I guess. And it sort of really looks at the rise of the Fantastic Four, like that sort of 2005 movie that they did. It sort of follows the same lines. Meet these characters, then they get their abilities, and then they come up against the villain ultimately. And this sort of looked at the college years before that, and it's a film that has some good elements in it, tiny amount of good elements. Most of it's kind of rubbish, and it's just it's sort of a film that you sort of have to watch to believe, I guess, how bad it actually is. It's one of these films that I thought might have been, it's so bad it's good, but unfortunately it's so bad it's bad. So, anyway. So what did you guys think of it?
Yeah, total dumpster fire. Like, this is the only Fantastic Four movie I haven't seen. I've seen all the others. By default, the best one is Rise of the Silver Surfer, because that one at least progressed, like the characters. This one, I set my expectations too high. This is easily the worst one, I think.
What do you think, Patrick?
Same thing for me. I was hoping it might be a guilty pleasure kind of movie, and it wasn't. It was kind of painful to sit through, especially when I'm a Marvel fan and I do care for the Fantastic Four. I want to see them done right. I want to see the movie and the story portrayed as like a family. Yeah. And this just had like bad pacing. The performances were like robotic.
Laughable at best.
Yeah. I thought there was a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I just think it was... I can see why it wasn't released, because it just was a terrible film. Yeah. And there wasn't a lot I really liked about it, but it is a film that I'm glad I've seen now, like, that I don't have to ever watch again. It's done. It's finished for me.
I agree.
Yeah, I've heard about this movie. I've heard about this movie for years. Always been keen to see it. Now that I've seen it, that's one movie I've ticked off my list, and I will never want to see it again.
I thought we'd start by talking about the good things about it, which there isn't bloody many, but the things I sort of liked were most of the visual effects were pretty good for the time. I thought the introduction of Dr. Doom was kind of cool when we first saw him, until he laughed or spoke. Yep. And then we saw him out of the shadows and it got worse. And I think that's about it for me. What did you guys think? Which
for me,
part did you like?
I hated all of this movie except for the music score, because in some places the score wasn't too bad and actually did feel like a true superhero film. Other times it was just laughable as shit, goofy, dumb, ridiculous, and at some points it felt like Batman. It felt like a Christmas movie because there was a lot of jingle bells and whatnot.
Like Batman.
But that's the only thing I liked about this movie. Everything else was a struggle and a pain to get through. I was losing my patience.
Yep. Same thing for me. Look, if I had to choose a positive, I would probably say the special effects. They weren't all perfect at all. Towards the end, some of it was terrible. But the Thing's costume in particular, really good, you can see each little rock, each detail on the suit, which was impressive, especially for the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I think the Thing was visually the best thing about it. And they made the lips move and all sorts of stuff, but it also...
terrible ADR where it doesn't work.
And just sort of his voice changes, and then there's a moment in the whole film where he changes back into human form, which is something that's never happened.
Never happened.
And that was so weird and bizarre, and then the only way he can turn back is get angry. It was so stupid.
And then happened like a minute later, because he changes back to normal, and then like a minute later he just gets mad again and turns into the Thing. Like, that was a pointless detour.
It's not like they introduced it as an ability for him to switch on and off. It just it happened. Exactly. He accidentally switched back because he fell in love with the blind girl. Yep. And then he suddenly turned back, and that was it. He was the Thing forever again. I don't know.
It's kind of stupid. So let's talk about the stuff that was bad, laughable bad, I guess, or the main parts in the film that we thought were terrible? I know you said most of it, but just in general.
For me, like, it's only a 90-minute movie, and they rush through a shit ton. Like, literally, the origin of how Doctor Doom becomes Doctor Doom is dealt with within the first 10 minutes. We checked.
Yeah, look, the pacing is bad, especially towards the end. We'll go into spoilers, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you have the third act, you beat Doctor Doom, he falls off a cliff, and then basically right after that you see Reed and Sue get married, and like they're all in the same suits, except for Sue, she's in a white gown. That's another thing though, right? So like they sort of like exploit her image.
Yeah, they do, absolutely.
There's one scene where like she's the only one wearing the suits, and like Johnny and Reed are like wearing normal clothes. It's like, come on guys, put your suits on.
Yeah, she gave them all the suits way too early. Like, she introduced the suits, handed them to them, and then she's the only one that wears it for like half an hour.
Yeah, it's like a tight skin thing. It's ridiculous. She just looks, sexually exploited.
And then it's kind of like a reverse in the end, where like all of the guys are wearing the suits, and then she's just wearing the wedding dress. It's like, okay,
well, what about the Thing? He's only wearing underpants. Like,
yeah, that's
they couldn't
weird.
even bother to give him pants.
Yeah.
For me, I guess the stuff that I thought was really bad is I thought Doctor Doom was kind of cool when you saw him in the shadows. He did sort of remind me of Claw from Inspector Gadget a little bit sometimes, but you see him in the shadows and he's kind of cool and stuff, and his voice isn't too bad, and then you see him laugh, or you hear him laugh, and you see his layer, like where he's sitting, which is all drawings, and it's just laughable at best. And I guess we could talk about that as well. There's this one scene in it where he comes out with the Fantastic Four are there. He comes out and he does his whole big speech and he sends his henchmen to kill him. Then he walks out of the room. Yeah. And then a few minutes later...
then the Fantastic Four beat up his guys, and then they leave, and then he comes back and it's like, haha, my guys have... Where the hell do they go?
Yeah,
what the shit is that?
How couldn't he hear it? What was he...
Didn't he hear the gunfire?
In the toilet or something? He had to blend the going?
You have to take a
doesn't
dump.
make any sense.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, there was so many moments throughout the film that are just like that. It's just
Yeah.
terrible characters. The dialogue's horrific. Some of the visual effects, and they have side characters. There's like this mole man, leprechaun character that just appears, and then they don't do anything with him, and then they kill off Doctor Doom in such a stupid way.
Yeah, I just want to like bring up a point about Doctor Doom. For the most part, he was actually not that bad, except for when he had to laugh. But then, like, near the end, like, he pretty much does nothing throughout the entire film, and he goes out like a pussy.
It's like a cliched villain, a superhero cliched villain.
Like, 3 hits from Reed, and then he's done. Like, you know, like 3 punches to his face, and then, like, he's done. Like, he doesn't even get to punch anybody. Like, he goes down like a bitch.
There's one scene where he shows that he's bulletproof underground, and that's kind of really shitty as well.
Yeah. And like the scenes throughout the film where like the Fantastic Four show off their powers, and it's never explained like did they know they could do that? Because like near the end it shows like Johnny can fly with his fire powers. When did he learn to do that?
Yep.
It just sort of happened. It's the same with Storm. Like, you see her, she uses this ability to hold people back like a force field, and you've never seen her use the thing in the whole movie. All you've seen is she can go invisible and duck, but that's
like, that's all she does in the movie. Like,
happens a lot. Yeah.
Whenever she goes to kill anybody, she just ducks out of the way.
Yoink, and they run into each other. It's so comical.
Yeah, they have the cliched henchmen. It's just a horrific... It's a great example of a really bad film. It's like a TV movie, but it's even worse than that.
Yeah.
And you can really see why it was never released. Because it is just a terrible film, and it just doesn't really add any good things to it. Like, even when they're in college, you've got these 30-year-old men playing college students. They're meant to be 20, and it just doesn't work. And there's all this love story that doesn't make any sense. And yeah, there's just so much about this film that could have been so much better. And it's another example of a Fantastic Four film, just not well done. We still haven't had a great Fantastic Four film. I think it should be a TV series, a live-action TV series, and they could do different things with it. But I think we're over the origin story. We need to see something else. And I think with the Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer was good because they introduced the Silver Surfer, which they did in the comics as well. So it's kind of interesting to see him in it, but that's about it, really, for me.
Yeah, one thing I want to talk about, and this drove me nuts, were the transitions. One particular scene just blew my mind. I was like, I actually wanted to leave. It's where like the Fantastic Four are held captive, and then like they're surrounded by guards, and the weirdest transition ever. It spins around, and all you hear is punching sound effects, and then then the three of the Fantastic Four are dressed in the henchman outfits. It's like shittiest transition I've ever seen. And like speaking of which, I've never seen editing and transitions this terrible. This just blew my mind. I was appalled at all of this. Like, I've seen bad movies, but holy shit. How can you screw up the editing so bad in this?
I don't know who greenlighted that idea.
Well, it was sort of a Roger Corman sort of production, but I don't even think anyone really gave a shit about it. It was like, they talk about how they sort of made it to get the rights for Fantastic Four and just sort of said they were going to greenlight a movie, but it's just, they had no intention of actually releasing it, which is kind of stupid. Like, you've got all these visual effects and you've got all these actors doing their performances and you're just going to throw them away like they're nothing.
Yeah. At best, this movie is a direct-to-video VHS movie. That's all this feels like. It's like the film was made on $1 million, and it kind of shows how cheap it is. But like, films have been made on $1 million that have been way, way better.
I was thinking with this film, it's probably best if you're going to watch it, if you are going to watch it, it's best to watch it with friends or a group of people because you can make fun of it and it's a much better experience, because just watching it by yourself in your room is just not worth it because it's not a very good movie at all.
And probably get drunk while watching it, which I wish I did. I wish I was drunk.
Well, every time the thing says it's clobbering time, you can take a shot.
3 times. He says it 3 times in the film, and every time it just gets annoying.
Yeah.
But I did sort of like I talked about visual effects, like where Reed sort of uses his ability, where you first see it with his hand stretched out and stuff. I kind of liked that. It got way, way sillier as the film went along, but I kind of liked the idea they were trying to do different things. And then, but when you see the flame, whatever you want to, Johnny Storm, and when he becomes a flame, it's just this horrific animation. It looks horrendous. And there's this bit at the end where they're trying to stop this giant laser blowing up New York, I think it was.
Yeah.
And rather than destroying the laser, he races it and then pushes it back, and it explodes like a planet. Like,
and it looks like and the effect they use, it looks like it blew up the planet itself. So either Johnny could have let New York get destroyed, or he pretty much just screwed the whole planet. But also, here's another thing: they're called, and like throughout the film, they're called the Fantastic Four and their real names, but not once do you hear the Thing, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, the Human Torch. All you hear is their normal names. You never hear their superhero names. And like, I know that's the thing, like in the Fantastic Four movies, you never hear their full-ish names. Like, you never hear the team name and their superhero names. Like, it's like one or the other at some points. So like, just once, can't we get the whole package?
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to do something different with them. Don't do another origin story if you're going to do another movie. Do something different. Just throw them into something they're already doing and then maybe have flashbacks through it. I think Fantastic Four really deserves a good film because I think they're really interesting and fun characters. And there was, I think it was Peyton Reed who'd done the Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. He was talking about he wanted to do a series, but he wanted to set in the 60s. Where this sort of Fantastic Four was originally created in the comics. Now, I don't know if that'd kind of work, but I just really wish they wanted to do something different with this franchise and do something interesting with it and give us a decent film, because we still haven't had one.
One more thing I want to bring up before are we going to wrap up?
Yeah.
Is the progression of how this film goes. The relationship between Sue Storm and Reed Richards, like, they fall in love within 3 days, pretty much, because it's like near the start of the film, it shows when Sue's a child and like Reed's like 30 or something, and then it's like then it like jumps to 10 years later, and then like she's 20 something, and then he's probably 50, I don't know, and like immediately it's like there's like ooh, love there, and then it's like they probably spend like 3 days together, and then like let's get married. It's like no development was properly built at all. Once again, at least with the Silver Surfer movie, at least like they got married in the second film. Like, they built up the relationship in the first one, and then they got married. Like, here it's just like, oh, I love you, let's get married. Like, no progression was properly developed at all.
Well, it's the same with the Thing and the blind girl. Like, she just says, I love you, and she touches him and accepts that he's this creature thing without reacting
and
to it.
They never transfer names either. And then there's one scene where like, Ben, how do you know his name?
Yep, there's so many moments like that.
And then when they finally meet, when she's touching him, it's like What, like, I never introduced myself. I'm Ben Grimm. She said your name, you idiots.
But I want to. Last thing I want to talk about is the Leprechaun character.
Oh my god.
So he's this character that's like he's like a villain, and
it's pretty much Penguin from Batman Returns.
Yeah, he lives underground. He has all these henchmen, and I think the actor playing him is much better than the material. He's sort of in prosthetics and stuff, but I think he's sort of a much better actor than what he's given here, and he tries his best with it. But it's just a pointless character. It doesn't serve any purpose to the story. Except just kidnapping someone. It's kind of pointless. It felt like two separate movies, well, three separate movies really. Fantastic Four's story, then you got Doctor Doom and his henchmen, and then you got this Leprechaun mole character.
And then we never see him again as well, because once Doctor Doom invades his lair, that's it. He's done. You never see the Leprechaun character again.
Yeah, there's a lot of loose ends.
Yeah, it's just it's horrific and it jumps from thing to thing. Anyway.
Yeah, one more thing. I just remembered this now. When Doctor Doom dies and his glove comes off and you can see his human hand, but then when Reed's leaving, the metal hand is on a rail or something, and the hand moves and is he a sentient robot as well? What is that?
Doesn't explain. But I like the bit where he's falling. I swear he stuck his fingers up.
It looked like it.
Yeah, it looks like as he was falling, he just gave Reed F you.
Watch this movie if you want to laugh at a movie.
Yeah,
because it's that bad.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll sort of wrap it up here. So we'll do a bit of a scoring system out of it, just for fun's sake, I guess. So. NETX5, what would you give it out of your rating system's 10? What would you give it?
I wanted to give this a 0. I really did. It was laughably bad, horrendous. I was blown away how bad this movie was, but I got to be honest. I liked the music mostly. Half the music was good.
Wow.
In some places, because like I said earlier, the music in some places actually did sound compelling, and it did inspire heroism or something like that. But everything else was just piss poor, terrible. Characters were shit, story was shit, everything was garbage. So I've never given this score before, but I'm gonna give Fantastic Four 1994 a 1 out of 10. That's a rare
being
score.
Generous.
Yeah, I'm being kind of generous because, to be fair, I laughed. It was funny. I kind of enjoyed it, even though I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
What about you, Patrick?
Same thing for me. There's an unexpected entertainment value with this movie.
Yeah.
Get around this movie with friends and you'll have a decent time. But yeah, with wasted potential, again, that brings the score down so much. There's not much there. They didn't know what they were doing with the characters, and it's painful to watch. So I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10 as well.
Well, for me, I score out of 5, so I'd probably give it 1.5. There was Doctor Doom I thought was kind of interesting in the effects, but that's about it. But yeah, so anyway, that's all from us today. Special thanks to NETX5 and Patrick for joining me for this review. And as they've said, this is a film that's terrible. Not very good at all, but if you want a bit of fun and want to make fun of something and have a drinking game maybe, or just have entertainment value, sort of watch it with friends and sort of have fun with it, because it is a terrible film, but it can be made better with a group of friends making fun of it. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.